So the debt limit is the result of something that Congress put into effect about 100 years ago, which is a limit on how much the federal government can borrow. The federal government spends and takes in trillions of dollars each year, and then the difference between those two amounts is the federal deficit, the shortfall. And so over the years, we've had a shortfall in most of them, and we've accumulated a very large debt. As of now, it's about $19.5 trillion. And what the federal debt limit does is it limits that amount of debt to an amount that Congress has allowed the Treasury Department to borrow on behalf of the federal government. There's actually two parts of this. We will hit the debt limit on March 16th of 2017, which is when the suspension ends. But the Treasury Department has what they call extraordinary measures, which are financial maneuvers that they're permitted to do when they encounter a situation like this, that allow the federal government to keep borrowing for a certain period of time afterwards and keep paying all of the bills that the federal government owes in full and on time. And we expect that those extraordinary measures, as they're called, will allow the government to continue operating normally for another few months until they run out of cash on hand to pay all of the federal government's bills and expenditures. And at that point, that's what we call the X date, which is when there isn't enough cash to cover all of the government's obligations. Once we hit the X date, there are hundreds of billions of dollars that the federal government spends each month, and the only money that we'll have to pay those programs is what comes in from revenues, mostly taxes, on a daily basis. And on a lot of days, the taxes that come in are not enough to meet the obligations or the spending that has to go out. And so there will be a number of different areas that potentially wouldn't be funded, whether it's payments for our defense vendors that provide the equipment and support for our troops, or social programs that help provide support throughout the country in a variety of different ways, or infrastructure spending that goes to roads and bridges. So it's hard to tell exactly what we would do if we encountered that situation, but it's certainly unprecedented territory for the country. We've never had a period where we've been unable to fund all of our bills in full and on time, and so there's a lot of risk that wouldn't be entailed in that situation.